I remember, not so much anymore, but when I was a teenager, when I first started taking, I realized that I didn't really like take in my, I assumed I didn't really take in my sleep.
Mm-hmm.
So when I would wake up in the morning, I like would know that I was fully awake when I had my first tick. So I would lay in the bed still with my eyes closed and I'm like, okay, I'm still half asleep. I can still get some sleep. And then as soon as like the first tick came, I'd be like, oh, that means my body's awake. And then I'd actually get up. So that was like my indicator that I was awake, is if I had a tick. Um, Not like the alarm went off. Like, the alarm went off, but I'm still half asleep because I haven't
Yeah,
ticked yet. It was so funny. Like
that's awesome.
that was my like cue that my body was up and
I
awake.
love that. I think that's really awesome. You mentioned the sleep thing. That is the number one question. I get asked it at least, I feel like at least minimum twice in every video that I make.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think
Sleep.
I don't think I do, but I know some
Right.
people do. But I was like, I have
Mm-hmm.
to film myself. And honestly, I don't know if I want to see myself.
Right.
I try to remind myself, I'm like, you'd probably wonder that too.
Right.
Like if somebody does this in their sleep, like you'd probably wonder the same exact thing. I want to make sure I always try to ask, like, especially since you have just found this newfound like power in sharing your story and everything. And I think it's great because I feel like you can really see it too on your social media. Like every time you share stuff and how much more like comfortable you are with sharing it. And I
Right.
that always makes me so happy because the more people we have, the better. Honestly.
Yes.
What would you say to now somebody else if like I came up to you and was like, I know you just finally were able to do this, like what kind of advice, if any, would you give to somebody else? I know it's always easier said than done.
Right.
I always tell people,
Yes.
but, like, what would you say to anybody like still really nervous?
Right. I would say, like you said, it is easier said than done because, like I said, it took me 3, 4 years to finally be like, okay, I'm gonna do it, and then it took me another week to finally post it. But I do feel that um, it is good to see people that are there and like supportive, and you are able to educate people. Um, because I mean, before people knew, like I've been around people, or maybe not like out of choice, it could be at work or something. But I've been around people where I've heard them make a joke like, "Oh my gosh, he looks like he has Tourette's," and I'm just like sitting there awkwardly like, okay, so you're able to educate people, for them to be able to see a different side that they didn't realize before, like, so that's a positive thing. I think another good piece of advice would be to not judge yourself, because I feel like when I was typing different things, I was judging how it was going to come across. I had certain people, like not certain specific people, but like maybe people at work versus people,
Yeah.
that are friends, like that in mind. And I was trying to tailor it to them. And in a way, it is kind of tailored to like people that are going to listen and see what you're posting, but it is also tailored for you, to be able to say, like, this is another piece of what I'm going through. This is what it can look like. You know what I mean? So
Mm-hmm.
I think that is a good thing, to not judge yourself in posting it. Or maybe if you say something, you know, or you do something that was like, oh, I wish I could have done it this way or that, don't be too hard on yourself in that, because it is something new that you're doing that maybe you were not doing before.
Yeah.
Or it's completely new, like advocating. I do that somewhat, but not for Tourette syndrome, so this is still new to me.
Yeah.
I was just mostly reposting things other people put out, and that's fine, because if it's already there, might as well make that and amplify that voice. So yeah, I would just say to not judge yourself, to go for it. And like I had said, when I saw the positive responses, I was like, okay, that's cool. And if there were any negative, then they weren't really for me in the first place. And it's just cool, because now I'm like, great, I know that now before they hurt me worse later. You know what I mean?
Yes. I
So
really I think that is amazing advice. And I really like what you just said last there. Like, well, now I know you're that kind of person, and we can cut this before it goes any deeper.
Right. Exactly.
So not everybody is meant for us, and that's okay. And I think that's what we always have to, that's a hard one too, especially because if we start to realize that there's some people that were really close to us eventually are those people that are no longer meant for us. It can be hard. And I don't mean to brush that off. Like it's
of course.
Like I can't just cut people out of my life, but I get it at the same time. Like I've been there where I've had very, very close friends, like not because of my Tourette syndrome, but just in general, like just basically not be my friend anymore.
Yeah.
And it takes time.
Just for whatever reason. Yeah.
Yeah. I know that part is easier said than done too, but like you said, like they weren't meant for me, and I just have to find those people that were, because most of the time there's going to be more good than bad. And I always try to remind myself that in the world we live in today, it doesn't seem like that.
Right.
And I know it's easier things to, again, an easier said than done.
Right.
Especially if we're surrounded by all this negativity and all this ugliness everywhere. But I keep trying to, because for me and my mental health, it makes it better. I have to always like take a step back. Like, all right, let's look at like only positive things now. Let's reframe our mind here, because I'll find myself going in those holes and thinking about those comments and thinking about those things. I'm like, maybe I'm just going to stop doing this altogether then.
Yes.
And then
I feel that.
Yeah. So it can be hard, but I really love, especially the don't judge yourself part, because it can be hard to accept Tourette syndrome on a personal level.
Yeah.
And I think for me, what has helped is teaching people about it and spreading awareness about it, because it has helped me so much in accepting it, just being a part of me, not all of me. I know I have built something around that Tourette syndrome, and I know it's a very big part of me. I am who I am, I think, because of Tourette syndrome to this day. But it's also, and that's okay, but it's so hard to, again, that line. Right. It's such a huge part of me, but that's not all I am. I'm not just Tourette syndrome.
Yeah.
So, and I think people get nervous about that, like, label, like, oh, that's that girl that has Tourette syndrome.
Right. Yes.
Like, I know I have it. You don't have to whisper.
Yes.
Thanks.
Oh man.
I'd rather we all just be part of this conversation. Like I'm not.
Yes. That's funny. You said something about like trying to not focus on the negative, and it reminded me. I saw this analogy somewhere on the internet. I'm sorry, I don't remember who like it originates from. If anybody does, feel free to let me know. But it was like a picture. It was just like white background and like a dot, and it was like, what do you see? And of course, everybody's saying a dot. And it's like that represents like the like negative comments or the negativity in your life, but that's not all that's in the picture. Like, look how much white space there is too. So it's like you don't really sit there. Like it's so easy to focus on the negative because you're like, oh, or like there's another dot. Oh my gosh! It's like look how much white space is on the page. Look how much positivity. Of course, that's what that represented. There is. Don't let the couple like specks of black that are in there like ruin your like your self-confidence, ruin your day, different things like that. So I think it just reminded me of that analogy I saw. I think that's really really important to know.
Yeah, absolutely, because we all need that reminder, myself especially. I zone in sometimes, but no, I love that, because I knew like right when you started to say it, I was like, as you're saying, like everybody said the dot, I'm like, oh, I know where this is going.
Yeah. Imagine how many white dots there are. Exactly. Versus like that one or two black dots.
Yeah. Like don't focus on those. I'm gonna keep that one in the bank and try to remind myself of that one. So thank you for that.
Of course.
All right. Was there anything else that you wanted to maybe that we didn't bring up that you wanted to talk about today?
No, I think this is really good. I had so much fun. Yes, and I'm super happy that I got to be on here because, like I said, I've been following you and your content for a while, which has been really cool, as well as Tourette's podcast. I got to be on an episode of Tourette's podcast, which is super cool. So if y'all want to listen to that is season 7, episode 3.
Yes, there. Check it out. Yes, Ben is awesome. His podcast is amazing. I love
Yeah.
what he's doing as well. And is there any, if you want to, if you don't want to share, that's fine too, any social medias that you wanted to share for people to start following and seeing the information you're sharing?
Yeah, sure. So I usually post mostly on my Instagram. Facebook, yes, too, but that's just more like my friends, not super active. So my Instagram it's at crazy for Jesus. So it's CRA_Z. So crazy. The number 4, Jesus, and then the number 1 at the end because somebody took that one. So
with the underscore.
Yes. Yes, I was like, oh, okay. So I'm sure you'll probably post it in like the description or whatever. Yeah. So that's my Instagram, and I think my TikTok is the exact same. My TikTok is just random things right now, but I am thinking about doing more like Tourette syndrome, like advocacy and awareness on there. But as of right now, it's random things, literally random things. So we'll just feel free to follow that and see what comes of it.
Yeah. I mean, hey, I think the majority of people's TikToks are just random things. That's why it's so easy to get lost in the scroll of that website or that app on your phone. I am, again, just so ecstatic and happy that we did this. This has been fun, full of laughs too. It's been so fun talking to you and hearing your story about Tourette syndrome. So thank you so much for doing this with me.
Thank you for having me on your show, Tourette Talk. I'm super excited.
Yes, I am super excited as well.